Welcome to Mini Web Tool, where we make the complex simple. So let me ask you something. When is that big project actually due? If you sign a contract today, what's the exact date for that 6-month review? These feel like really simple questions, right? But as you're about to see, getting them wrong can have some pretty serious consequences. All right, let's just dive right in with a question that seems almost too easy. How long is 90 days really? I mean, your first thought is probably, well, it's about 3 months. But what happens when about just isn't good enough? We tend to think of our calendar as this perfect logical grid, but the truth is, it's a messy, ancient system that's just full of quirks. And that really gets to the heart of the problem. What looks like a simple addition problem on the surface is actually tangled up in all these hidden rules. And believe me, this isn't just trivia. Getting a date wrong can mean you miss a deadline, you void a legal contract, or you make a really embarrassing planning mistake. You could say our calendar is basically a minefield of logical traps, and today we're going to learn how to navigate it safely. So, here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about why this is such a common headache. Then, we're going to dig into the hidden flaws that make our calendars so tricky. I'll even show you the technically correct and kind of painful way to calculate dates by hand, right before I reveal the instant, super accurate solution that makes it all a breeze. And then we'll wrap up with the key takeaways you really need to remember. Let's start with the stakes, because they're higher than you might think. Miscalculating a date isn't just some minor oopsies you can laugh off. In a lot of situations, both professional and personal, getting it exactly right is completely non-negotiable. Just imagine a contract with, say, a 90-day notice period. If you casually calculate that as 3 months, you could easily be off by a day or two. And that one little day, that could be the difference between a valid contract termination and being locked into another full year of service. This is why understanding these little details isn't just for math geeks. It's a super practical, real-world skill. Okay, so why is this so hard in the first place? Well, to get that, we need to look at the calendar itself. It wasn't designed by computer scientists, that's for sure. It's a system that's been cobbled together over centuries, modified by emperors and popes. It's not some clean, logical program. It's more like a messy historical document that we just happen to use to plan our entire lives. And these right here are the main culprits behind all our date calculating confusion. The most obvious one is that our months have all these different lengths. That one simple fact creates what I call the month-end trap. And it makes a simple term like 1 month dangerously vague. And then there's the big one, the leap year rule, which it turns out is way more complicated than what they taught us in school. Let's go back to that 90-day thing to see this in action. If you start on March 1st and you add 3 months, your calendar app will probably take you to June 1st. But if you actually count out exactly 90 days, one by one, you land on May 30th. That's a 2-day difference. And like we just said, in a legal contract, 2 days can be absolutely everything. The bottom line is, those terms are just not interchangeable. And this leads us right into the month-end trap. Think about it. If it's January 31st and you need to add 1 month, where do you end up? There's no February 31st. So does the date become February 28th? Or does it maybe roll over into March? The crazy thing is, different software programs actually handle this differently, which is a complete nightmare if you need consistency. And then we have the leap year. We all learn, oh, it's every 4 years. But that's not the whole story, and it's actually wrong. The full rule is so important for any long-term planning. A year is a leap year if it's divisible by 4, unless it's also divisible by 100. Unless, and here's the kicker, it's also divisible by 400. This is why the year 2000 was a leap year, but the year 1900 was not. Forgetting this rule can easily throw your long-range plans off by a full day. Okay, so now that we know all the ways this can go wrong, let's look at the correct way to do this by hand. Because believe it or not, when you're adding a mix of years, months, and days, the order you do it in really matters. This is the crucial part right here, the order of operations. To get a consistent, logical answer every single time, you have to follow this exact sequence. First, you deal with the years. Second, you handle the months. And finally, you add the days. This specific order stops the wacky month lengths from messing up your day count. Oh, and for this system, we just turn weeks into days, so 2 weeks becomes a simple 14 days. Let's try a tricky example together so you can see how this works in the real world. We're going to find the exact date that is 2 years, 1 month, 2 weeks, and 3 days from our starting point, November 8th, 2024. Okay, let's walk through this, step by step. First up, the years. Starting with November 8th, 2024, we add 2 years. Easy. That brings us to November 8th, 2026. Second, we add the months. We add 1 month to that new date, which takes us to December 8th, 2026. And finally, the days. We have 2 weeks and 3 days. That's 17 days total. So we add 17 days to December 8th, and that brings us to our final answer, December 25th, 2026. And there it is. We got the answer. But just think about what that took. We had to follow a specific order, keep track of the date, worry about leap years, and that was for just one calculation. Can you imagine doing that for a project plan with dozens of deadlines? The chance for one tiny mistake is just huge. And that was just for adding time. Subtracting is even harder. It's a whole other level of headache. You have to borrow days from the previous month, which means you have to remember exactly how many days were in that specific month. If you subtract 20 days from March 15th, you have to know that February has 28 days, or 29 if it's a leap year, just to land on the right date. It gets messy fast. Okay, so now that we can all agree on how surprisingly complicated this is, there's got to be a better way, right? What's the easiest way to get an accurate answer every single time without any risk of human error? Well, this is where a simple, dedicated tool becomes your best friend. Honestly, when I need a fast 100% perfect answer, I use a free and really easy date calculator on a site called minefield. It just handles all of this complexity for you. And the process is so simple. It follows that same correct logic we just learned, but it's instant. You just pop in your start date, our November 8th, 2024, you pick add, and then you just fill in the boxes for what you want to add. 2 years, 1 month, 2 weeks, and 3 days. And just like that, all that mental gymnastics of counting, checking calendars, and worrying about leap years is just gone. You hit calculate, and boom, there it is, instantly. Friday, December 25th, 2026. It's the exact same answer we got doing it the long way, but it took maybe half a second, and there's zero chance of making a mistake. It just works. So, after all that, what are the most important things to walk away with? Let's do a quick recap of what we've learned today about how to deal with our very quirky calendar. Let's boil it all down. First, remember that calculating dates is tricky, not because the math is hard, but because our units, especially months, are not consistent. They're variable. Second, the real leap year rule is more complex than you think, and you have to know it for long-range accuracy. And finally, while you can do this by hand using the years, then months, then days rule, the smartest and frankly safest way to do it is to let a good tool handle all those messy exceptions for you. Look, understanding the logic behind all this makes you a much smarter planner, but you don't need the headache of doing the math every single time. So next time you've got a critical deadline, just search for Mini Web Tool Date Calculator and get the right answer instantly. To get more clear, concise explainers like this one, be sure to subscribe to Mini Web Tool.